Hello, if you've ever wondered how to use a wide-angle lens, then this is a video for you. I get asked quite frequently, how do you use a wide-angle lens to its best effect in a landscape? So I thought I'd do this video today on how to do that, to try and help you, because I know a lot of people have just bought a new wide-angle lens and they don't really know how to use it. So if you're just beginning at landscape photography, hopefully this video will be for you. So to do that, I've come to the beautiful Lulworth Cove, and I'll see if you can show me. It is a massive cove that goes all around, pretty much 360, and there's a little break in the rocks back there where the sea comes in and out. Now today the light is absolutely miserable. It's raining, very cloudy. We're not going to get any good light. So what I'm going to try and do is just show you some compositions. We're not going to get the best light, the best photographs and things like that, but if the composition is strong enough, even in poor light, it shouldn't matter too much. So I've come down to Lulworth Cove and I'm going to hopefully get some really good images to show you how to think differently about using a wide-angle lens. Our eyes see about 50mm, or the equivalent of. So when we're looking at a scene, we see it differently, and especially if you're using a wide-angle lens from, say, 16 to 28, something like that, you're going to get a lot more of your subject in the image, and it will look a lot smaller than in reality. So when you're seeing it and you think it's a great scene, you take the photograph and it just doesn't seem to work. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to try and make the best of your wide-angle lens. Right, so I've just taken a really nice photograph of the whole of Lulworth Cove, going all the way to capture most of this beautiful cove in the scene, but it just doesn't seem to work as you would hope. It's a lovely scene to the eye, but when you actually look at the photograph, because you're trying to cram too much into the photograph, it's really difficult to see what you're trying to show in that image. So using the same exposures of f16, ISO 100 and I think it's half a second, I'm going to change the composition and show you how you can really use the wide-angle lens to make a difference in that photograph. So rather than doing a big landscape of this, I've gone right in close, putting these foreground rocks really close to the camera. So if you look down here, you can see these rocks in the foreground are a couple of feet away from the camera. So I'm really getting in close, really emphasising these nice rocks, using them as leading lines to go all the way down the beach, and you've got this lovely rocks coming down here and going into the sea. And there's a few rocks on the outside which I've kept on the side of the frame, but unfortunately I'm not getting these boats in the background as well, but that would have been nicer if they were in a little bit more. But this just goes to show you don't have to take every photo in landscape. You can, if you see a nice scene and you really want to emphasise the foreground, go in low, put it in portrait, and just really get some nice leading lines that will lead your eye through the photograph. I've found another composition now when I've got the camera right down low, and there's this lovely, it's a little bit of a mound in the pebbles, so when the water comes up, the waves come and go either side of those, and I've got a long exposure, so I'm really capturing the motion in the waves, and most of the image, probably 3/4 of the image, is just water. Because there's nothing in the sky, it's really boring, and there's not a great deal of interest in these background rocks. I've put those in the top, 2/3 at the top, and then everything else is just the water, and then the foreground is just a load of leading lines from the water coming in and out. So each wave I'll take a photograph, because they're all slightly different. It's really difficult to get the best one, so I've taken a number of them. I've taken it when the water's coming in, so we've got the waves coming in now and then going back, and also when it's receding. So what you get is nice patterns of all the water moving out, and those create leading lines going out into the photograph. So I've tried it on, again, both landscape and portrait, and I've found some really nice rocks down here to try and emphasise that, but I found it a bit better if the rocks weren't there. But I went right down as low as I can and as far out into the water as I can. So I've gone right out into the water, and as you can see, I got a little too close, so I'm a bit wet. So I'm going to come back a little bit now, but I've just tried different shots just with long exposures just to get some movement in the water really, because at the moment there's not a lot of foreground interest, so I'm creating foreground interest from the movement of the waves. I've come a bit further around the bay now, and what I'm doing, I'm looking over to the, I think it's the west side of the cove, and just down here there's some really nice beautiful rocks. Oh shit. And right on the edge of the water, so I'm getting a little bit wet. So what I've got, I've set this up in a portrait. I'll show you the rough composition. And as soon as the water rushes in, there's a little valley that's going through here in front of the camera. So I've put the rock in the background there on the top 2/3, and then the leading line is this valley with all the water rushing back out, and it's going back into the sea. So what I'm trying to do is wait till a big wave comes up. The tide's going out, so it's getting harder as I go along, but every now and then you'll get a bigger wave come along. And then that comes up, washes over the foreground, and then as it's receding, I'll take the photograph. If it's too high up, all of this is covered under the wave and you don't really see the rocks. But I want to still emphasize the rocks. So it's quite a bit difficult one to time, because if it's in too far, you get too much white in it and all the whiteness of the wave, and you don't see underneath. And if it's too far away, you don't get the movement of the water. So I've taken probably 10, 20 photographs at, I think it's a sixth of a second. So I'm taking lots of different ones to try and get the right composition with the rocks on the side and the water in the middle. But because the water's always moving, it's quite difficult to capture it. So I'm going to take a lot of photos and then just see which one's the best later on. In fact, I might try this, might try it in a landscape format as well, because this works really well. So if you can see, it's coming in now, and I'll wait and take it about now. And that gives me these rocks down here on the left and the right, so you can see them all, and then you've got the nice leading line in the middle. It's started to rain now a bit. It's gone really miserable. The clouds have come over and it's starting to rain, so I'm packing all the stuff away now, and I think it's time to go home. The light hasn't been brilliant today, but if I've got some strong enough compositions, it shouldn't matter too much. But I think I've gone right in close on all the foreground interest, and there should be some lovely detail in the foreground rocks. So if it's good enough, it will take your attention off the poor light. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and there's one or two tips that have been useful for you. If there have, please let me know which ones and which photos you enjoyed. And if you have any questions, please leave me a comment. I always respond to those. So thank you very much for watching. Give me a thumbs up, and as I say, please comment. I really like them.